I'm Robby, welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to be talking about the 4th episode of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV series on Disney+.
What's it called, Robby?
This episode is I Plunged to My Death, which is another chapter name from the book. It's, which I will continue to enjoy until they stop doing it.
Yeah, truly love.
And probably keep calling out until they stop doing it, which I imagine will be never. So great.
We won't go to this routine.
We're just going to keep going with this forever. But what were your overall thoughts on this one?
I thought this one was good. It was not my...
There it is. That's it. Thanks for watching.
Shut up. It was good. It was cute. This one I thought, I was gonna say it was probably the closest to like book accuracy, but I don't know that that's true.
I don't think that's true.
I think the scene in the arch was, but other than that, they were kind of all over the place. I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every episode so far.
Yeah, I continue to enjoy the show as well. Yeah, I think that this episode was, I don't know if it was as book accurate as, or perfectly book accurate. I'd have to, really go into the chapter for that. But I think it was the first time where I really felt like the entire story of this episode is the story of that chapter.
Yeah.
I may be misremembering a little bit, but the focus of the episode is the focus of that chapter. And everything that happens, which was kind of cool. It felt like everything did slow down for a second.
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time.
I think that's kind of why I said when we were watching it, I was like, oh, okay. I was ready for the fast pace that we've had so often, and it was definitely slower.
Yeah, it was a little bit slower, I thought. No, not bad at all. Again, we get more moments with the gang, with our main three, and I think all of them get. I guess I'll save that for just a second when we jump into, I guess, more spoiler parts, but I did particularly like some of the perspectives they were going into certain scenes with.
Yeah.
Which I felt that they focused on a little bit more than some of the things they focused on in the book, which was good.
Yeah, like the individual. Yeah,
for
sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Okay, so anywho, I guess we're going to jump into spoilers for this episode, so if you haven't watched this episode of Percy Jackson and the Olympians yet, go ahead and watch it, and then come back and hear the rest of our thoughts. In 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Oh my god, there's so many.
No.
No, I really liked the conversation that Percy and Annabeth had in one of those early scenes. I liked a lot that they are focusing a lot on how the gods treat their kids, and I know that that's a focus of the book, but it feels like
they're really.
I feel like they're really going into it more here, because in the book it feels like it's just like, this is what it is,
right.
and it's still that way kind of in the show, but Percy continually brings up the fact, and I really liked the scene that they had, because he's like, you should, like, someone who cares about you shouldn't have to, expect these things.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
They shouldn't treat you this way.
I would say that's the one thing, and I think I may have brought it up in the books of like the idea of that like all these gods are just having kids and we're like cool with it. We're just like we're like not really talking about it. And I agree with you that I'm glad that we're kind of talking about like, hey, I know this is like kind of how the gods were, or like that's Percy's mom told him these stories and told him that this is how the gods behave. But like that's not okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially since we are in the real world to talk about that. I'm like, oh, great. I like that we're tackling that.
Yeah, and it works specifically well because he has Annabeth as like a foil kind of, in that she's fully immersed in just accepting this is how it is, and also she has her own problems with her mortal parents as well. But having someone who kind of disagrees with Percy or hasn't thought about it in the way that Percy is bringing up is good, and makes the conversations more interesting and introspective for both of them, which I enjoy. Yeah. And also, I think that the scene before that, I think it was the scene before that. Anyway, the flashback with Sally was really great.
Here's the problem now, though. Every time they give me a Sally flashback, I'm like, I want to watch this show. I want to watch this show. I want to watch the Sally show.
Sally
I really but I guess this is the beauty of the different generations that are going to be watching this show, because I think probably people a little bit younger than us grew up with these more than we did. I think, obviously, we're a little bit on the older end for these books. They definitely came out, for us to read when we were younger. I didn't read them when we were younger, but I'm sure, obviously, most of the audience for this that has read the books are probably a little bit older, at least in their 20s, I would assume. And so it's fun to be able to, obviously, I'm hoping, and I'm assuming, because of how good this show is, that they are bringing a younger generation in, an even younger generation in. But then the older generation has a lot to look forward to in these shows as well. The action, the stories are great, but then so how much they've been investing in Sally specifically
great.
I'm all about it. More of it. Give me that show.
I like the young Percy actor. He's very good.
Yeah.
Percy's visions are unsettling.
Yeah.
which is what they're supposed to be. Yeah. And every time I keep hearing that character's voice, I'm trying to be like, do I know who that is? Because I'm trying.
Oh,
to
who
like,
the?
I know who the character is. I'm not going to say that here in case people don't really know.
The character, the character whose voice he's hearing in his visions.
Yeah, I'm trying to be like, who? Do I know who that actor is?
Same thing.
But this last episode, he talked a lot.
He did, and
so I was like, do I recognize that voice? I have not looked it up yet.
I haven't either, and I don't
want to keep that spoiler free for me. I want to be surprised. If that's something that's even revealed this season, who knows? Yeah, and also Grover. Grover even got a nice part. I like that we finally got to talk about Pan for the first time, which is a deep, motivation and plot for Grover throughout all of the books. So that's very exciting that we started off on that. And then the rest of the episode was really about Echidna and the St. Luce Arch.
The mother of monsters.
The mother of monsters and the Chimera. Mm-hmm. It was the Chimera, right?
Yeah.
It was the Chimera. Chimera looked good. Not exactly what I envisioned in my mind.
I thought it was kind of cute.
Well, I mean, it was just a cute pup, but
cute little
I think I just have the
tiger pup.
The image of like the Dungeons and Dragons Chimera kind of
sure.
imprinted on my mind, and so the fact that it only had like one head, I was like,
like boring.
But it looked very good.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, we've said this before, but I'll say it again. The effects are
great. Effects are always good.
Absolutely beautiful.
I thought it was funny that Percy got stabbed. And the delayed effect, like the poison was so delayed.
It was.
But I did really like the scene where they were splashing him in the fountain. I thought that was hilarious. And it was great also them talking so much about the St. Luce Arch and how it's a temple to Athena and how this is how you worship your god or thank your parent or what have you. I liked that a lot. I thought that was a fun little bit of world building that didn't necessarily need to be in there, but added a little bit of depth and realism to the show that I enjoyed.
And it's also like, I mean, it shows Annabeth's intelligence and all of these things that she has packed away in her brain. And I do think we went back to that conversation of like, your mom is not nice to you.
Yes.
Type of thing where,
exactly.
Because she's essentially opened this temple because Annabeth, I forget the word that Echidna said to her, like your mom, your insolence or something. Whatever she said.
I don't remember.
That was why she opened the thing.
Oh yes. That because Percy sent the head to Olympus, Athena was mad and like let loose Echidna on them essentially.
Yes.
Which I was like, that's dark.
And it is dark, and we again came back to that conversation, Percy being like, what the heck, Annabeth, that's not cool.
That's not cool, yeah.
And you definitely saw her do some like recalculating as well, which...
And then, and then that entire plot arc kind of comes full circle with Percy falling through the floor of the St. Luce Arch and being, saved by his father in the river and the Naiad, I think?
Yes. Which we don't really get a look at.
I didn't. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like, is this the full
thing?
Are we not seeing them? We couldn't really see them. So that was one of the first effects that I was like, I just can't really tell what's going on.
I wonder if they're trying to keep it mysterious.
Maybe, or they're just like, you can barely kind of see the outline of them. Because I was just like, it just seems like some lines in the water, but okay. So that was the first time in the visual effects I was like, what's happening? But also, I wasn't sure if that's what I was supposed to be like or not.
I was also, I was very intrigued with that scene too of how they were going to make it look like Percy's breathing underwater.
They just make it sound like he's breathing underwater.
I was like,
oh,
great.
That works actually. That's really good.
Perfect.
And I'm interested to see how they like do his clothes are dry and stuff. But I guess they still react normally to water. It's just that they're dry anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting how much when Percy was in the water that the Naiad Naiad I think was saying, your father has always wanted to be there. It's so hard for him to just watch. He loves you so much, etc., etc., etc. Which, is appropriate for the arc that they built within this episode, especially with the conversation they had in the beginning. He had in the beginning with Annabeth talking about how the gods shouldn't treat their kids like this. I don't care if that's the way it's normally done. And then more of that when Annabeth reveals that the reason that Echidna is chasing them is because her mother stood aside or let her loose or whatever. Yes, exactly, Patty. But I thought it was very interesting because it felt a little heavy-handed. Mm-hmm. I understood the moment, and it worked in the moment because of what they were setting it up to be. But it felt a little. But they clearly emphasized that. That's way more emphasized than it is in the book as well. And they clearly were like making a point with it. And I'm interested to see if that's like the point they're trying to make overall. It's that the gods are all remorseful for it, which wouldn't make a ton of sense to me. Or if Percy's gonna, clap back and say like, I don't care what you're saying. I don't feel like he's not. He's
it'll
never
be
been
interesting
here.
too when we meet Poseidon.
Yes,
to see
very much so.
how that is,
like,
and maybe he has more of a role.
Could be.
Who knows?
Could be.
I have thought it was interesting in the books mainly, but obviously now in this too, like you said, that them like driving that point home of like he cares about you so much, and I struggled in the books of being like, obviously these gods and goddesses and demigods, well they're demigods, are producing all of these children, like so many children. So to me I'm like, and they don't meet them. The kids don't really know them at all. Yeah. And specifically with Annabeth, like her like love and adoration for her mother that she truly does not know, I have a really hard time getting on board with that. And so it's interesting like that. I kind of found myself kind of rolling my eyes a little bit in that scene where they're like, your dad loves you and he cares about you so much. I'm like, but I don't think that he does. But also this is a children's book and this is not real life. So
we'll see. We'll see where they go with that. I will say overall the episode was slower. I did appreciate the fact that they gave Echidna a reason to be there. Because I will say in the book that was a somewhat clunky part in which it was just like, she's just here. Like a lot of the monsters and things that they run into in the book just happen to be there, and I think that's supposed to. But
they can like feel the demigod power.
Exactly, and they can feel the demigod power. But I liked this episode a little bit more. She had like a purpose. Yeah, and she was also there because she was like, I'm here to make you pay for the sins of your parents essentially, and I'm also teaching this new Chimera how to hunt. I
did also like her creepy relationship.
She was
with
really
her
creepy.
Baby.
She was very
monster.
creepy.
Yeah, she was great. Yeah, I thought she was fantastic.
I liked her a lot. But I liked that they gave her
I agree
more of a plot instead of just like, look, here's a monster for you to somehow avoid or
and they're just here.
Against, and they're just here. It does make me wonder, because they spent so much time on this one, I do wonder if there's going to be stuff in the future. Like, I'm thinking of one specific thing that I'm not going to bring up right now, but like there is one interaction that they have later in the book that even when I read the book, I was like, what is the point of this, really? So I'm interested to see if that remains in the show or what they change just because of how much time they took on this, which necessarily will mean, I think there's only 8 episodes in this season, which I'm assuming is the entirety of the book. So there's only 4 episodes left, so I'm wondering if they're going to have to cut any stuff because they spent so much time on this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Who knows?
I don't know. We're still watching. We're still loving it.
Yeah, we're still loving it. So overall, thoughts? Really enjoyed it?
Great. Yeah. Great.
Continuing to love it. This is probably, I guess I would have to say this might be my least favorite of the 4 so far. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I still really liked it. It's just kind of a somewhat slower episode to kind of give us a little bit more time to get into the heads of our 3 main heroes. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? No. Okay. All right, well, thank you all so much for watching. Those are our pretty abridged thoughts on the 4th episode of the Percy Jackson, the Olympian series. If you want to see our videos talking about the books, as we are also reading this series right now, you can find a link here on the screen.
Floating in the air.
Yes, just floating in the air somewhere magically. And we'll continue. We're going to continue doing this every week. I don't think we're going to have a standard day in which we do it. It's just when we find the time. But we're going to keep. We're definitely going to keep making videos every week about these episodes, and then probably do some sort of wrap up at the end of the season, I would think.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and
we'll see you on our next adventure.